I need to change things. I need to change my care team. I need to change my cancer center. I need to change my protocol. I need to change my whole approach. It was really hard. So, I want people to see, as long as you're alive and breathing, and there's hope for you. And that's what I want the message to be. Find the silver lining in whatever hand you're dealt with, and then move from there.
Welcome to Knowing Me, Knowing You, the podcast for the future of wealth management. Thanks for being here. I'm Marla Sofer. Money is a tool. It empowers people. Let's dive into how technology is personalizing advice, strengthening connections, and creating lasting impact. If you're an advisor looking to differentiate, a fintech leader shaping the next wave, or a client ready to take control of your financial future, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hi, and today we are honored to welcome Tina Powell, one of the most powerful voices at the intersection of fintech marketing and leadership. Tina is partner and chief of community at Intentionally, the dynamic host of In the Suite, a podcast amplifying the voices of game changers in finance. She's a marketing strategist, a builder of bold brands, and a trusted advisor to some of the most ambitious names in financial services. Tina's unique brilliance lies in combining strategy, storytelling, and soul. Whether she's launching a new campaign or mentoring rising leaders, she brings a fierce dedication to purpose-driven impact. And she does all of this while living with stage 4 lung cancer, an embodiment of intention and strength that inspires thousands. I actually came across Tina because many in my network were following along with her health journey and commenting and supporting. And so I became familiar with Tina and reached out and wanted to be friends, and we became fast friends. Welcome, Tina, to the Knowing Me, Knowing You podcast.
Thank you so much, Marla. Such an honor to be here. I couldn't wait for this recording today, and I'm really excited. Thanks so much for having me as a guest. It's a real thrill and an honor.
It's a pleasure. Tina, what is exciting to you about the moment we're in right now, about the future of wealth management?
Yeah, so I don't think that you can have a conversation about the future of wealth management unless you are talking about AI. And since, ChatGPT launched about 18 months ago or so, I think that AI is changing everything. It's changing how advisors approach their jobs. It's changing how even, clients approach even a buying decision for a wealth manager or for financial advisor right now. We see it on the agency side, changing everything. One of the first things that I did was naturally, a lot of us are using these AI tools on our own, in our own personal life. That's a first way to dabble and to get to know things. But I took it to the next level, and I just recently completed the Google AI certification course that's offered actually through Coursera. So it's multi-modules. I think it's about 11 hours in totality. Actually, Google employees who actually work at Google actually instruct you. So it was really, really fantastic. Since then, I'm doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I've got Perplexity on my phone. I'm building notebook LMs. We're building custom chat GPTs. I'm even making AI clones right now with permission of my colleagues who are like, yeah, if you could record a sample video of me, and then if I can just change the script and I don't need to show up with hair and makeup, that would be amazing. So it is unbelievable right now. Even for static images, my Mark is pictured in clothes that he doesn't own and in a backdrop where he never was. And so that is just content creation. It is a real game changer.
I love the answer as well. There's 2 answers that we get on this. Actually 3. And now we've done, I've recorded, I don't even know how many podcasts. We've recorded almost for the whole year of 2025. And I often get people are excited about the wealth transfer. They're excited about human centricity. and kind of the way that wealth is just getting so much more human centric. And the third is AI. One of the things that, brought me to you that I was so excited about meeting you for is your own vulnerability, talking about your health journey and living with stage 4 lung cancer, going through the ups and downs that come with medical care in our country and taking care of what's most important, your health. How has this shaped your work and your mission in our industry?
Marla, it's changed everything. It has work is just the tip of the iceberg, right? But if I'm being honest, it's any type of cancer diagnosis, no matter if it's stage 1, stage 4. I originally was diagnosed stage 2B. A lot of people were like, hey, how did you know how were you diagnosed? On January 16th, I elected for a proactive executive physical that I paid for completely out of pocket at the Princeton Longevity Center. And so I noticed that I was putting on weight, which was an odd thing for me, but I was okay, maybe it's menopause or whatever. It's becoming a grandmother. And my colleague, my business partner, our founder, Kelly Waltrick, expressed hey, how she wanted to do one of these executive physicals. And, there were subtleties, Marla. I noticed my Orange Theory times were coming, silly things hey, my road time is coming down. I was did I benchmark my time at a 5 a.m. class? So, I'm a person that's very active. I was riding horses. I was going to Orange Theory, and yet I'm putting on weight and I'm eating all kinds of sugar. I was just craving so much candy and bad stuff. So I went in for this executive physical. It was all day. I walked in at 8:30 and I left at 4:30, knowing and discovering that there was a 2.6 centimeter tumor on my right lung. And it was oh my God, I'll never forget it, Marla. He had the 2 screens and they just lit up. And he's well, this looked good. And then and then he drew my attention. I was oh my God. It's a low dose CT scan. A lot of people are hey, did I have an X-ray? And I had a low dose CT scan that can see details as less than a millimeter of an inch, less than a millimeter, incredible detail. And then, after that, I went for a series of diagnostics that eventually discovered that I had an environmental form of lung cancer. I am a non-smoker. It occurs actually, the type of cancer that I had, it occurs in non-smokers all the time. I do like to tell people that I did smoke in college and in high school. So I do want to just make sure, but the type of cancer.
Since you were a regular smoker.
It's been 35 years, everybody. Yeah. I'm 58. You can do the math. But the type of cancer that I have is environmental. So they're hey, where were you on 9/11? What do you do for work? Where do you live? And I'm wow, at the time I live in beautiful PA right now. I was living in PA actually when I was diagnosed. Thank God. So yeah, there are tons of people. And unfortunately, you would never think about lung cancer. There's a young lung cancer initiative. There are people that are in their, 30s who have never smoked a cigarette in their life, who are being diagnosed with this awful disease, people that look just like everybody. So, the journey now has been 2.5 years. I'm grateful to be on the Knowing Me, Knowing You podcast with you, Marla, and just grateful to be alive. I have an incredible team of doctors and researchers who I see every week, every Wednesday at Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York City. I'm being treated by Dr. Paul Pack and led by a team of researchers. Right now, I'm in the midst of a clinical trial that's led by Dr. Helena Yu. These are people who are renowned. We have people in wealth management that are renowned. There's an additional element of just people in the lung cancer community, and Memorial Sloan Kettering has been one of the most incredible institutions that I've dealt with. I have had previous relationships with 2 other cancer centers that will remain unnamed. I'm grateful to them for the care that preceded my care right now, but it was time to take things to another level. You know me, Marla, I'm proactive. I'm bullish, let's go, let's get it, let's do it. But the treatment cycles are tough. I'm on a 21 day treatment cycle that is kicking my you-know-what. Again, they're monitoring me closely and giving me access to great care. So, that, and along with a workplace culture, we started out our conversation, Marla, talking about, hey, what's new in wealth management? Well, the other thing that's really exciting in wealth management are cultures, whether or not you're an advisory firm, you're a broker dealer, or you're fintech, or you're asset manager. We're starting to see cultures. I'm not the only one who has cancer, unfortunately. And we're starting to see workplace cultures really prioritize employee wellness, employee advocacy, and a culture where people actually care. For me, that is I think the most essential care aspect of my care is, and I'm coming to you from the office right now, is working with a team of people who care and who give me the latitude to get the care that I need and support me through it.
I almost made a snarky comment where you said, we're starting to see cultures. And I was like, oh no, there have always been cultures in financial services. I think we're starting to see companies that actually care about their cultures. They try to kind of very deliberately craft and hone and create the cultures that they want. And I think your initial response when I asked you about your health was so profound because you said it changed everything. Your entire life changed. Your priorities changed. Your experience as a human being here on this planet changed. And I think for wealth managers, we kind of talk a lot about being there for our clients, but until you go through an experience like this, you don't really recognize how profound a life event is, how profound your priorities might shift, your values might shift.
I totally agree with you. Most wealth managers and financial advisors don't have the words. People don't even know what to say to me. People, advisors especially, you can use a life event as an absolute opportunity for client retention, first of all, and then for new client acquisition. I'm convinced. I know I have a short list of people who have done exceptionally good for me since I was diagnosed. And then I have another group of people that, that you see real true colors, unfortunately. And, and sometimes the default is not knowing what to say and not doing anything, which is not good.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it boils down to connection. Who are the people that are maintaining and caring and cultivating and nurturing your connection? And who are those that didn't prioritize it? And this kind of is the perfect segue back into what your superpower is professionally. You've helped so many companies with their brands and telling their story and emphasizing what they do best in a very noisy market. What is the biggest mistake? And frankly, you might have just said what it was right in the prior comment. The biggest mistake is not connecting maybe, but what is the biggest marketing mistake that you see in wealth management particularly? And what does good look like?
I would say unrealistic expectations are right at the top. I had a prospect call today with a group of female advisors who I know represent a creme de la creme here in as far as advisory. They've got the certifications, they've got the empathy, they've got the caring, right? But unfortunately, the results that they're expecting from a website that is outdated, a website that is archaic, a website that doesn't show them in the best light, a website that doesn't talk to their ideal client profile, a website that has broken links, a website that is a revolving door that's got no newsletter, nothing that I'm giving a value to you, Marla, saying hey, recently divorced, here's a checklist, nothing, right? Resources, events that are virtual, over a year old, nothing live, expecting results given a set of inputs that are just unrealistic and not built for today's market. I think if anybody takes anything away from today's conversation, Marla, in addition to the empathy and caring piece and connection piece that you're so good at, is to really, really, you need to be obsessed with your ideal client profile, obsessed with who's walking through the door, obsessed with creating value for them. Number one is expecting results. I'll give you a short list. We'll do 5, guys. I could do about 50. And again, in service to you all, I hope that this is a learning opportunity. This is in no means criticism. We don't expect advisors to be marketers. We don't expect asset managers to be marketers. We expect marketers to be marketers. We are a mighty dodgeball team of 27 people who cut our teeth on learning in industry, working for the firms that we actually create. But let's go through that short list because I know you're all waiting for the drum roll. Okay, expecting results too quickly. Number 2, not enough marketing investment. We see again, when was the last time that somebody redid messaging on their website? Maybe even change the template. Oh, 5 years. It's not really performing, right? So not enough marketing investment. You haven't recreated sales enablement. You haven't invested in a new brochure. You haven't invested in your front office and your client experience, director of first impressions, right? Doing the same old stuff and expecting a series of results. If you were a portfolio manager and you gave me a portfolio to look at, and if I came in wanting a double-digit hurdle rate, you'd tell me I was out of my mind. You'd say, oh, Tina, well, you need a totally different allocation for that. Marketing's the same way. We see people that come in, no plans, no accountability, just, lackluster results, and then, expecting just a different result. So, by definition, if you do the same things, you're going to get the same results. So something has to change. And again, we see wealth managers no different than portfolio management. You've got to create the right strategy and the right allocation to get the goals in the first place.
That's an excellent, very valuable list to all of our listeners about what are you doing wrong? And I think it comes down to, are you giving value to your prospects, to your clients, the ones that you want to be giving value to? And you talked a little bit about the newsletter and about informing, engaging them. How are you looking at interaction? Your title at Intentionally is Chief of Community. What role do you think community plays in building a wealth firm? How are you looking at these really hard to deliver actions of interaction and engagement, where it's not just speaking at, but rather building ongoing bi-directional value, as you say?
Yeah, well, community is something that traditionally, again, community was never really a thing. Community was never really a thing until social media and platforms, and people needed a community manager. Someone to monitor comments, somebody to monitor the traffic, incoming, whether or not that's a comment on a company LinkedIn or even an incoming email. Community is, I think, one of the secrets to growth in the future. And where we see community is that community is a place where clients and prospects and advocates, where we gather together to celebrate milestones, to solve challenges, to share insights, anything that can drive a company forward. So it's an evolving position here. All of us have a lot of community stakeholders that we don't even really see. Your team is a community, right? How are you treating your team, your clients, your prospects, your centers of influence? People are industry friends too. So intentionally on the community piece, in answer to your question, Marla, is that we're trying to build community experiences that bring people together. I think a recent example was when we were at 2 conferences, at Wealth Management Edge and at Future Proof Citywide. So event organizers actually come to us and say, hey, we've got a group of people coming. How do we create an amazing experience? So in the case of Future Proof, we gathered, and we had a waiting list for it, over 100 marketers, people who worked in advisory firms. And we had a half-day session at the Versace mansion. We treated everybody to an amazing lunch. We had round tables that had specific cards of questions. Everybody's voice was heard. Intentionally is, we're not the only agency. We're not the only people who do marketing, and we're not the only authority and the only voice. Community needs to be inclusive. You need to listen more than you speak. So, providing gateways and opportunities and experience where people can share ideas in a safe environment, even the way that I shared with you today. But community also too is really bridging off the page. You can create communities online, but we really see in-person events. There's an absolute resurgence. People are just tired of Zoom. People want to be with one another. It's, the dynamic is so different. So we're giving intentional thought to those experiences. Intentionally will be creating an event of our own in the future. And we are so obsessed with every single decision, the event, the time of year, the experience. How far is it away from the airport? If I'm going, what does that experience look like? So I would say firms really need to address community. You don't have to have a designated, chief of community, but somebody needs to take ownership, and intentionally that person is me.
We'll be right back with the show, but I want to let you know about an exciting event that we're hosting on September 17th. I'll be joined by Dr. Megan Lertz, a leading researcher in behavioral finance and advisor-client connection, and Emily Rassam, partner and CFP at Archer Investment Management. We'll dig into what actually builds trust and what to do when it breaks or is threatened. You'll find the link to register in the show notes. Don't miss it. Can't wait to see you there. Amazing. And what an incredible sounding event. Not surprised that you had a big wait list at Future Proof, and delighted to hear that you're going to be creating your own event. We also at NOMI are looking at and building a feature that we've showed to a couple of advisors, where we empower advisors to create their own communities as well, where an advisor seeking to become more valuable to their client can connect their clients to each other. They can connect better with other centers of influence that are part of somebody's money story, the other teams that are supporting financial decisions. I think part of what we're recognizing and what NOMI is really built for is this reality that financial advice and money are emotional. That any relationship you have with money, going back to your health diagnosis and recognizing how it changed everything for you, it changed your relationship with money, I'm sure. How are you helping advisors understand how they can connect better emotionally with the individuals they're trying to serve and shape financial decisions and incorporate their unique brand, their unique version of here's how I'm going to help you into the story they tell, into their narrative to the market?
Well, a lot of the narratives in financial advisory have changed. It's not what you do, but it's why you do it. That's really at the end of the day what people want. And so the way Intentionally is helping to bridge that gap is for a lot of clients are redoing their messaging. They don't have the right pages. They haven't really shared their own origin story. We're also helping advisors, I think, to be a little bit more vulnerable. Before we put anything together, we sit down with an advisor, we really interview them, we ask them the hard questions, and we encourage them to do a little bit more sharing, get a little bit more comfortable, even on social media too. Like there was a real trepidation, even for video and podcasting, and what advisors are now recognizing is their unique story. It's why they entered advisory. They're allowed to have like a past. A lot of advisors actually have like a little money trauma, right? in their past. I mean, I can tell you that I do. Why I made a full immersion into wealth management in 2010. I grew up in a single parent household. My mother was the only breadwinner. I took babysitting jobs at 11 and 12 years old and became a mother's helper, started working very, very early, but money was really hard, getting a college education. And then my master's, those were huge, huge life events that, took a lot of strategy. Advisors need to share that. I'm right now working with an advisor whose daughter is 11 years old now and has had a traumatic brain injury that they didn't see coming. That wasn't part of their plan. They've got two other healthy children. Bad stuff happens to great people, no matter how great you prepare for it. So, the reason why people seek financial advice, and I know this because I was part of a wealth management firm for nearly 9 years, where I was part of every single new prospect client conversation for 9 years. People are trying to solve something. And even if you have lots of money,
a life problem, not a money problem.
Exactly.
A life issue. Yeah.
And a lot of it, like you said, it is emotional. It's like, well, my daughter married this person and I don't know that we really, there are some really difficult things. People who don't even know how to, balance a checkbook, women who have no idea how to log into bill pay and pay their bills. So, we really want the stories to come out but we want them at the same thing to be empowering and to build a connection to the people that they potentially serve.
You have done so much work for wealth managers and had a lot of first-party experience with growth, with engagement, with stories, with all the individuals that you're referencing now. You've also launched the In the Suite podcast, and you have talked to me a lot about your own priorities and how you're spending a lot of time with family. You've got grandkids that you're spending time with. When you think about your legacy, and what you hope everyone around you says about Tina Powell and how you've touched them and what you've made possible in the world because of all of the places that you've graced with your gifts. What do you want them to be able to say, and what specifically to this industry?
Well, I get so emotional about it, Marla. We started out the podcast like cancer changes everything. And I was recently, just even yesterday, was holding my grandson who's 3 weeks old, my granddaughter who's 2 years old, and my other granddaughter who's 1 year old. What I hope the legacy that I leave people with is that no matter how hard life gets, is that you need to find the positivity and you need to find the silver lining in whatever hand you're dealt. And there always is a silver lining. Like, yes, unfortunately, right now I'm dealing with a very significant stage 4 diagnosis. That's really hard. I could have already been dead. I've been surviving now for 2.5 years, thanks to research and medicine and drugs and being proactive in my diagnosis, right? That I found it before it found me. And now I have the ability to, I'll be launching a second podcast. So In the Suite is about to celebrate, and I can't wait to have you as a guest, Marla, but we're going to cross over that 100 threshold. I'm really proud of that, because it would have been really easy to shut off In the Suite. Hey, you guys, I'm dealing with a significant health issue. And, it's more important now than ever that I always felt strongly In the Suite was started because I wanted to shine a light on others. I saw that there was a gaping hole with women's voices. Where were all the women podcasts? I saw Craig, I saw Michael, I saw everybody, but it was like, I would love to have a podcast of my own so that we can shine a light on the voices and the stories of women who have, made it. What decisions did they make? What risks did they take? What do they regret? What do they celebrate? How do they view success? What are they reading? What are they watching? What strategies are they doing? What ongoing education? Like, these are things that we can all learn from each other. But in the future, there is a podcast for lung cancer. I look, and again, I see a gaping hole. There's nearly no podcasts that have and feature the patient perspective, like the person who's actually going through it, right? I love my oncologists. I love Sloan, Memorial Sloan Kettering. I love my team of researchers. But you know what? There's something to be said about me living in this body. I get people that reach out to me right now. I've got some content on YouTube, people that are asking some really important questions and they don't know where to go to help. So, I hope that by sharing my experience that, number one, that I give people hope. And I give them the courage to, take risks and take chances. There was a part of my own health journey, Marla, that I'll be honest, I was frustrated. I was sad. I was depressed. I was defeated. You know what? I let myself have my own little pity party that day. And then I got up and then I said, okay, I need to change things. I need to change my care team. I need to change my cancer center. I need to change my protocol. I need to change my whole approach. It was really hard. So, I want people to see, as long as you're alive and breathing, and there's hope for you. And that's what I want the message to be. Find the silver lining in whatever hand you're dealt with, and then move from there.
Extremely, extremely powerful messages. It's a very powerful legacy to frame. And there's a lot of analogies here to what it is that Nomi's building. It is, number one, what you referenced around the medical field. And you said, look, there's no voice of the patient. Where do I go and find the voice of the patient? Frankly, doctors would kill, I'm sure, to hear the voice of the patient. This is who we're looking to serve. Don't we want to hear from them? In wealth, where is the opportunity for us to hear from our clients? And I know that we're struggling saying it's not really on Reddit. A lot of the people on Reddit and on all of those channels, they are self-directed. And frankly, they are going to go through ups and downs, and they're not necessarily the demographics we're going after. So I think there's two things that were so compelling about how you shared your story. One was that where are we getting the voice of the client? And two, too is that the client cares about agency, care about, and exactly what you shared about your story with health was when I was kind of feeling down, I took action. I had agency in order to change my circumstances, to change my environment, to change my care team, to get to the outcomes that I knew I deserved and wanted and need to get in order to heal myself and feel better. So I just wanted to kind of call out how important I think those two messages were. And I think at a very meta level, this is what tech is excited about. Tech is excited about agency and empowering the voice of the client. And so I love that you kind of brought these two stories into like your own personal journey and legacy. What is one instance in your life, a conversation that you've had that changed your personal relationship with money?
Before my cancer diagnosis in my 40s, I had a divorce. It was really hard, really, really painful. And at that time, I didn't have my own 401k account. Not until like after age 40. So I realized through divorce how little agency. I love the word there, Marla. And I think you're right. I needed to take more agency. I'm a marketer who earned a Series 65 license. I studied really, really hard for that. That did not come easy. And I sit before you today, with that 401k, with an IRA rollover, with some amazing stock positions that you and I have kind of talked about, and with a legacy that I can leave my kids and grandkids. And none of that would have happened. And also too, it helped me to prepare for the unexpected, for a stage 4 illness. I have a lot to say about financial empowerment. You don't need a life event. You don't need a divorce. Really start really being curious and excited. There's some really good parts to this. It's not a bad thing. And even if you don't understand it, today's tools, we let off with AI. A great prompt is to explain it to me like a third grader, explain it to me like a kindergartner, help me understand and help me break it down. So I really feel in today's age, you need to take agency and ownership over what you have right now. And even if it's not, again, I remember way back when, and I was really unhappy, but the only way that you're going to solve that is just by having a real, come to Jesus conversation with yourself and saying, goes back to the legacy and impact that you want to create. These are empowering conversations. I'm really excited about the work that Nomi's doing. I took the assessments too. There's a way to bridge a conversation that is empowering in today's world. And so I just hope that firms and advisors will get a little bit more curious and not be afraid to ask a female how she's really feeling. What is she really, really feeling inside? And, I'm just so thankful to this industry that gave me the opportunity to solve. And I'm educated, right? Just schools and universities aren't necessarily teaching the personal finance skills that we need to have. And now I'm excited. I'm very, very excited to be a Schwab client. It's a really exciting time for women to start getting curious and to take an active seat on the sidelines.
Thank you so much, Tina, for not only what you've shared with us here on this podcast, but for modeling the power of vulnerability. I found you through that modeling on LinkedIn and started looking at your posts and learning a little bit about your story before you even knew who I was. And I was very inspired and it led to my outreach. I'm so grateful that you show up, you bring your vision, your voice, your vulnerability into everything that you do. You are living proof that showing up with intention changes everything. And as your life has changed, you are changing the lives of others. Where can our listeners learn more about your work and intentionally?
Thank you. Well, I hope that you do connect with me on LinkedIn. And, you can DM me there as well and you can hear it, Tina at growintentionally.com. you could go to our website, intention.ly. You can, book a call with me. And, I see people, I meet people. I'm an active networker. I love people and I love hearing, people's origin stories and all. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to connect with your community, Marla. And thanks for everybody listening here. I hope that this was enlightening.
Tina, thank you. For our listeners, what does it mean to lead with intention in your own work, to show up vulnerably, to embrace that emotional side of money? Please, if you liked this podcast, like it, put in a comment, share it with friends or contacts or family members that might be going through hard times and going through a rampant change in the way that their relationships with money are, their relationships with family, their relationships with themselves. Send us comments. Send us a message. We'd love to hear what you thought about our conversation. And thank you so much again, Tina.
Thank you, Marla.
Thank you for joining us on the Knowing Me, Knowing You podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Your support helps us bring more transformative conversations to you. Until next time, keep discovering, keep growing, and remember, you're in control of your own financial story. Follow us for more conversations on financial confidence, self-discovery, and the future of money.